Good morning, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today we're going to be doing a look at the House elections again. Sorry I didn't upload last week. I had a lot of stuff to do, and in the next few weeks, I'm going to try to keep my upload schedule, but at the same time, I'm going to be moving pretty soon. Don't know exactly when, but it's mostly due with the fact that gas prices are obscene and that it's just far easier to move than pay a lot more in gas. Um, so, yeah, we're going to get on with it. Also, likes, comments, subscriptions if you like the content. I greatly appreciate them. Likes and comments, of course, help the algorithm like me, and subscriptions help the channel grow. Arizona is uninteresting. Alaska, pretty much the same. Arizona. I think I put that one as a tilt. Yeah, I'm not having any toss up seats. And by the way, just as kind of a heads up, I think if gas prices continue to rise like they are, it's going to be real bad for the Democrats because no amount of spin is going to convince people that the administration is not at fault. Because they're going to see gas prices and they're going to say, well, this is happening under your watch and you're doing nothing to drop it. You're just blaming Putin. And okay, yes, the war in Ukraine has a little bit of an effect, but gas was still surging under Biden's administration. And what has Biden done? Shut off Russian oil imports, which, okay, sure, that's 10% of our oil, but that's a pretty significant amount if you think about it. So, yeah. So, I'm going to get an upgrade here in that one. Arkansas, that was all safe. California, you know what? I think that is going to make it. Well, let's zoom in. I think it's a lot more possible that you could see flips in California simply due to gas prices. I mean, as bad as they are here in Virginia, they're even worse. They're even worse in a place like California. And honestly, I could genuinely see Colorado having a little bit more favorable of a map for the GOP now. Connecticut finally released their map, and truthfully, that's kind of what the map looks like. Let me just do a quick, the verify. I'm going to base it off of 538's partisan index to see if it's really that competitive. And I'll be honest, I definitely do see one of Connecticut's House districts flipping. I'm not sure which one yet to be, exactly which one. But I do see one of Connecticut's flipping at this point in time, assuming, gas prices and everything stay where they are. Florida hasn't got a map, and genuinely, I could actually see the second in Georgia flipping. I could, but for right now, because of how inelastic southern states tend to be, I'm actually going to leave it where it is in the tilt category. but it's definitely a, it's definitely a seat that I could see the GOP picking up at the moment. Come on, thing. There we go. Computer didn't want to upload it. Hawaii, no changes. Idaho, there will be no changes. Illinois, I could genuinely... This one I'm going to leave in tilt. I'm going to zoom in on the Chicago area. I could absolutely see at least one or two Chicago area seats becoming more competitive. And of course, we're having issues with things loading. Oh, that's why I was getting very, very, very confused. I should probably actually zoom back in, looking at the estimated partisanship. And drop the 8th. Ugh. I actually think I know what the problem is. I think. No, okay. Not on data. Okay, or I'm not on the Wi-Fi. What the hell? Why is this being so slow? Maybe it's just too many windows open. It could, yeah. I think that was it. If we move to Indiana, honestly, I could see that getting a little bit more competitive, but that's about it. Iowa, I think we're talking about a state that's going to be a lot less competitive. Kansas, they really split Kansas up in a way to hand the GOP some seats. And I think it's going to work out. I think they're going to flip the final. I think they're going to flip the one seat in Kansas controlled by a Democrat. Kentucky, don't really see much change there. Louisiana, one of 3 states that hasn't. Maine, I think we can actually even do that because Maine is pretty elastic. And waiting for the computer to load. Yep, that could certainly help out in Maryland. Maybe out here in the West, but I mean, there's only so much, and it's mostly going to come from these more suburban areas. There's only so much you can do in the first district because of just how heavily blue this part of the state really is, and how, there's only so much population here. Maryland again. Massachusetts, there is potential for maybe the 9th to get less than safe, but not really. And I mean, the generic ballot is right now like R+2 or R+3. I think it's lagging behind where it likely will be. Yeah, I don't really have any other thing to say on Michigan. Minnesota has new maps, and they're broadly the same as they were. That's pretty safe, and honestly, I think the 8th is also pretty safe. But Minnesota is one of those states where it's weirdly competitive in a lot of places. I'm trying to remember, I think it was like this. Oh no, I had them backwards. Yeah, that was how I had them. It's probably going to be a 4-4 split unless Republicans can win in the second, but who knows? Mississippi, not really going to change. Missouri hasn't put out a map yet. Still waiting on that one. Montana. At this point, I'm pretty confident in that. And remember, these aren't, competitiveness margins, like, based off of the margin of victory, 5%, 10%, 15%. That can be pretty fluky as well. This is my confidence about a seat. Yeah, that's reasonable. Nevada, I could genuinely see the 4th flipping. I could see Republicans getting a clean sweep in Nevada. Like, I'm actually legitimately at that point where I could genuinely see that. New Hampshire hasn't released one. New Jersey, I mean, there's only so much room that the Republicans have here for pickups. So, it's kind of where it is. That map is pretty baked in. New Mexico is absolutely one where the Republicans have a potential. I don't think they're going to win all 3 seats. And 2 is still a heavy lift, but it's certainly a lift that is doable. New York is an interesting one. We go straight down to New York City. The 11th or Staten Island, they basically switched which neighborhoods in this borough, whatever this one is. I don't know my New York City boroughs. I know Manhattan's like right here. I know Queens is here. I think Bronx is here, and this is Brooklyn. But they basically replaced the conservative borough or neighborhoods with the with Democratic ones, and even in New York, even in a good year for Republicans, I'm not so sure. Going out to Long Island, I could actually see the first staying in Republican hands right now. And those probably won't be overly competitive. If I zoom back out to the whole state, not really seeing that one change. I could see this one change. Don't really see this one changing. New York Democrats did a very good job of gerrymandering the state. North Carolina has new court-drawn maps. Reasonably confident here. And if I remember correctly, those are also... Oh, no. I'm trying to remember, because I know that and that are pretty safe. That one should lean Democratic, as should that one. That one has a lot of that region. I think both of those are less Republican than the rest. Ohio has a court-drawn map. Democrats could absolutely win that. That includes a lot of conservative Ohio, so that should be reasonably competitive. I also think, if I remember correctly, that one. But Republicans are pretty safe in most of the state. There's Columbus, obviously. I think that one is more of a leans Republican. And I think that one might be leans Democratic. Based off of what I remember about the political geography of Ohio. Because you have Toledo right here. But a lot of this part of the coastline and this area are very, very conservative. But they're pretty sparsely populated, of course. So, moving on to Oklahoma, where the wind goes rolling down the plain. Oregon. This is one where, genuinely, I think the Republicans have a pretty good chance of maybe flipping more seats than expected, despite the map being clearly gerrymandered against them. Pennsylvania. Pretty reasonable map, in my opinion. Those are pretty safe. I mean, there's not much that can be done about some of this. If I remember correctly. I think that one was likely to. And I think in a Republican environment, the 17th would flip, especially because it'll be an open seat. I think that was less Republican than surrounding areas. But honestly, it's a decent map for Pennsylvania. It really is. Some of these districts are a bit funky, but they're reasonable. Rhode Island, both of these are pretty safe for the Democrats because it's split north-south, or basically it's split between an east and west district rather than a north and south district. The north-south district arrangement in Rhode Island would give the Republicans some pickup opportunities. If we go to South Carolina, yeah, that's not changing. Tennessee, pretty much this map. Texas, And there's a lot. I think if we go in, well, that didn't help at all. Okay. I think that district is going to be a lot more competitive now. But pretty much things are going to be about where they are. Because what they did in Texas was make every district a lot safer for the Republicans and the Democrats, for that matter. Vermont, Virginia, probably going to upgrade the 2nd to a liens. I'm going to keep the 10th as a lien as well, and the 7th is going to stay in the tilt category, but it's right on that edge where it could start getting really bad for the Democrats if they're not careful. Washington. I thought we talked about this map. I know the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd. All pretty Republican. The 1st, 2nd, 7th, and 9th are all pretty safe for the Democrats. Pretty confident that the 6th and the 10th will also vote for the Democrats, but those could get competitive. And I think the Republicans will flip the 8th, though they did move the 8th to include more of the Seattle suburbs to try and make it a little bit safer for them. West Virginia, yep. Go to Wisconsin. Pretty confident about the 5th, the 6th, and the 8th. The 9th, probably going to go to the Republicans. And the 1st, probably going to go to the Republicans as well. And the 2nd, and I want to say, okay, and the 4th, the 2nd and the 4th are pretty much Democratic seats. So if I zoom back out to the U.S., right now as it stands, the Republicans would be taking a majority because they're going to have majority seats in Louisiana and Missouri, and in Florida they're probably going to have a majority as well. You go up to New Hampshire and it's probably going to be evenly split. So right now, that's where I would stand with the House, though there's definitely room for disagreement here. You know, if you think that maybe I'm being too generous and say the Southwest or California for the Republicans, completely understandable. But with gas prices the way they are, Biden's approval rating not really rebounding. I mean, he did have some of a rebound after his State of the Union address, but it's kind of gone back in the other direction. It's not lining up to be a good midterm. Sorry about that. It's not lining up to be a good midterm for the Democrats. And if the average price for gas is above $4 a gallon, I don't see any way that the Democrats retain control of the House or the Senate. If the average price of gas hits $5 a gallon, I don't see how the Republicans have less than 55 seats in the Senate. And I definitely don't see how they have less than 240 seats in the House. And that's considering that their pickup opportunities are slim. If God help us, gas hits $5.50 or $6, we could be talking serious serious problems for the Democratic Party. Especially considering 24 has a very good map for the Republicans. In the Senate, at least. In the House, it's going to be the same map as this year, more than likely, unless the courts step in. And that could certainly change things. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Likes, comments, subscriptions, critiques, if you want to, down in the comments below. And have a very nice day.